Genesis of the Remnant Lds Church, Charge to the Ordinands, General Conference September 23, 2000 Part 3. The ordinations were performed in the order of seniority and age, with the exception of the conference chairman, as follows. Ordinations. High Priest David W. Bowerman was ordained an apostle by High Priest V. Lee Killpack, assisted by High Priest James L. Rogers and 70 Gary L. Argotsinger. High Priest V. Lee Killpack was ordained an apostle by Apostle David W. Bowerman, assisted by High Priest James L. Rogers and 70 Gary L. Argotsinger. High Priest James L. Rogers was ordained an apostle by Apostle V. Lee Killpack, assisted by Apostle David W. Bowerman and 70 Gary L. Argotsinger. Hymn 266. ALord, speak, that I may speak at 70 Gary L. Argotsinger was ordained a high priest and an apostle by Apostle James L. Rogers, assisted by Apostle 5th Lee Killpack and Apostle David W. Bowerman. Elder P. James Buchman was ordained a high priest and an apostle by Apostle Gary L. Argotsinger, assisted by Apostle James L. Rogers and Apostle David W. Bowerman. Elder Steve R. Church was ordained a high priest and an apostle by Apostle P. James Buchman, assisted by Apostle Gary L. Argotsinger and Apostle James L. Rogers. Elder Robert E. Ostrander was ordained a high priest and an apostle by Apostle Steve R. Church, assisted by Apostle P. James Buchman and Apostle 5th Lee Killpack. Acting in harmony with earlier determination by the designated apostles, Elder Bowerman was set apart as president of the Quorum of 12 by Apostles James Buchman and James Rogers. The afternoon business session received the Treasurer=S report as printed, approved the conference budget, and approved an adjusted church budget. In other action, the conference authorized the Apostolic Quorum to make adjustments to the church budget as they deem necessary to meet any unexpected or unforeseen circumstances that may arise. These changes to be approved by a majority of a standing high council, or absent a standing high council, they may appoint an ad hoc council of high priests consisting of no less than 7 members. David W. Bowerman, president of the Quorum of 12, reported to the conference the following list of items as representative of matters which the 12 will need to address promptly. It will be necessary for the quorum to make some determination relative to field assignments. Various aspects of the departmental functions at the general church level will need attention. Consideration, very quickly, will be given to the selection of the standing high council. Must assume the responsibility very soon to seek out and call men to function as 70. Begin a prayerful search in preparation for receiving direction to call and ordain additional patriarch evangelists. Prepare an epistle to all the identifiable restoration groups and organizations. Develop a missionary strategy for ministry to those groups and our former associates in the reorganized church. Develop directives for membership status. Develop guidelines for branches and districts. Complete the handbook on administrative policies and procedures initiated by the Council of High Priests, based on the law. Develop procedures for processing calls and ordinations to priesthood. Also, the proper handling of ordinances and statistical reporting. Supporting temporalities ministries. Execute the law of tithing. Recognize the rightful place of the quorums in general conferences. A standing vote of appreciation was extended to the Council of High Priests, and to the 3 patriarchs for their service over the past months. The conference adjourned to convene again April 6–8, 2001 by singing A Redeemer of Israel and closing prayer by Apostle V. Lee Killpack. As a part of the conference activities, 2 preaching services were held. Saturday evening High Priest Carl von Cannon Jr. spoke on the topic of laying securely the foundations of Zion at. Sunday morning Apostle Gary L. Argotsinger delivered the message on the theme The Day of My Power at. As the church moves forward, may we be charged as were the 7 apostles. Humble yourselves therefore under the mighty hand of God, that he may exalt you in due time. Casting all your care on him, for he careth for you. Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about, seeking whom he may devour, whom resist steadfast in the faith, knowing that the same afflictions are accomplished in your brethren that are in the world. But the God of all grace, who hath called us unto his eternal glory by Christ Jesus, make you perfect at 1 Peter chapter 5 verses 6–10, that when the chief shepherd shall appear, ye shall receive a crown of glory that fadeth not away. At 1 Peter chapter 5 verse 4, V. Lee Killpack, chairman of the conference.